So what is power system? Power system is a network which consists of generation, transmission, distribution and protection. So it is the largest man-made network. What is our objective for power system? To supply electrical energy to all our customers. Okay. So power system includes devices connected to the system like synchronous generators, motors, transformers, circuit breakers, insulators, whatnot. So many equipment, so much of infrastructure is required for us to establish this large system of power system. Now, before going into this one, let us get familiarized with few terms. So first, when I say the term utility, so utility means the entity or the body that does generation, transmission, distribution, the total system that is involved in bringing the electrical energy to our household premises, we call this as utility. Understand? So the scope and responsibility of the utility is till customer premises, till metering station, which records the electricity consumption of the customer. Till that point, all the system, all the equipment, all the manpower that is involved, we call the term utility. Understand? So what is your utility in Tamil Nadu? Anyone? So what is the utility in Tamil Nadu? Who gives, what do you call your utility name? You can unmute and answer, no issue. So what is the utility in Tamil Nadu? Who does the generation, transmission, distribution and brings the electrical energy to your household premises?
Electricity.
Electricity. What is the electricity board name in Tamil Nadu?
Tamil Nadu Electricity.
Tamil Nadu Electricity Board.
Tangetco. Like that.
So example.
Tangetco.
Yeah, Tangetco. Okay. In Kerala, it's called Kerala State
KSEB.
Electricity Board. Okay. So I hope now you get the idea of utility. Utility is the complete system that is involved in bringing the electrical energy to the customer premises. The customer need not be a household customer. It can be a small scale industry, medium scale industry. The purview of utility is right from the generating station to the metering panel of the customer. After metering panel, it is the responsibility of the customer. Okay. Now, who is the customer? The customer is the one who purchases the electrical energy from the utility and pays tariff. Okay. So there are many types of customers: domestic customers like us, commercial customers like any hall, any multiplex, any shopping mall. All these are all commercial customers. Industrial customers are there, municipal customers are there. So different types of customers are there. So from which point the scope and responsibility of the customer begins? It is after the metering station, the complete responsibility and scope is of the customer. Suppose if some accident happens inside your house, it is your responsibility. Electricity board will not take any responsibility if anybody gets shock after the metering station of your house. Suppose if some activity happens before the metering station, suppose one distributor line is grounded in front of your house, then who will take care? The electricity board, the utility will come and take responsibility and rectify that issue. I hope now everyone is clear about these two terms. One is utility and other is the customer. Okay. Now if you see this is a simple layout diagram of the power system. Here you can see generation. It starts with the generator. So generation voltage will be mostly 11 kV to 30 kV. It is in the range of 11 kV to 30 kV. We cannot go for high voltage generation because of the alternator issues, because the alternator size will become exorbitantly big. The stator slots and the amount of insulation that we have to provide between one conductor slot to the other conductor slots, it will become more, so the size of the alternator stator will become very big, exorbitantly big. So we cannot handle such big stators. So all over the world, the generation voltage will be in this range of 11 kV to 30 kV. Understand? So in India, highest voltage generation, I hope it is 24.5 kV. Check it in Google. It is in Tamil Nadu only, in Kudankulam power station. Okay. So the highest voltage in India is 24.5 kV. The highest generator in India is also 1000 MVA in the same installation of Kudankulam nuclear power plant. Okay. So this is the generation. After generation, everyone knows we have a step up transformer where we step down the voltage to a high voltage, and then we transmit in three phase three wire system. The transmission will be carried out in three phase three wire system. There won't be any neutral in the transmission. Why, we'll discuss later. Then again, this transmission line that is originating from the generating station, it terminates at the outskirts of any town or any city where the load center is located. Suppose it is, let us say, Chennai. At the outskirts of Chennai, you will be having a very big substation which terminates the transmission line coming from the generating station. There again you will step down that high voltage to medium level voltage, and then again you transmit it to the local substation in your region. So from there again, what will happen? Again there will be transmission, and which will bring the voltage to the 11 kV, usually the 11 kV, and then the distribution transformer will step down the 11 kV to 415 volts, and from there, from the distributor, the household customers will tap the energy. I'll give better overview in the due course of time. You will get basic idea of how the power system network looks. I want to explain in this slide. So one more term which I want to introduce is nominal voltage. So what is the nominal voltage? The voltage that we are supposed to get at a point is a nominal voltage. So one important point is all voltages in power system network are expressed as line to line RMS voltages. All voltages in power system are expressed as line to line RMS voltages. Suppose if I ask what is the voltage of the what is the primary voltage of the distribution transformer, what do you say? What is the primary voltage of distribution transformer? HT voltage in distribution transformer is how much? Anyone? Nobody having idea of the how much is the primary voltage of the distribution transformer? Every street will have a distribution transformer. What is the voltage? 11 kV. 11 kV, isn't it?
Primary side 11 kV.
Yeah, primary side only. Primary side is 11 kV. Yeah. What is the secondary side voltage? Secondary side is voltage is how much?
3.3.
Secondary side voltage in most probable cases will be 415 or 440 volts. Understand? So now if I ask you a simple question, what is the voltage you will get in this plug point in your house? See, this 3-pin plug point I am showing on my screen. I hope you know this is a ground pin. The bigger one is called ground pin. And there will be one phase and one neutral. How much voltage you will get between phase and neutral? Anyone?
Single phase means 220 to 230, sir.
No, I am showing you the image. I am showing you the image. I want the voltage between phase and neutral. How much? See, it is single phase only, no? you will not get three phase supply in the 3-pin plug point, right? So it is a single phase voltage which you will get between phase and neutral. How much voltage you are supposed to get? 230 volt RMS voltage. Understand? So what is the nominal voltage of the 3-pin plug point in your house? 230 volt. The voltage that you are supposed to get between phase and neutral is 230 volt. Understand? That is called nominal voltage. Now what you do, you take one multimeter. I hope you know multimeter or a voltmeter, AC voltmeter, which can measure the voltage. You connect between phase and neutral and measure the voltage. I'll give a complete day of time. How many ever times you want to test, you can do the experiment. So you'll be getting a lot of readings. Not even one reading will exactly match with 230 volt, because the voltage will not be constant, it will be fluctuating. Sometimes you will get 232 volts, sometimes you will get 228 volts, sometimes you will get 229.5, sometimes you will get 230.5, like that. Every reading will have a different voltage. So the voltage is a quantity which is not fixed, which will be fluctuating continuously. So the fluctuation will be there. So nominal voltage is a voltage that you are supposed to get at that point. Okay. Like even if you measure the primary voltage of a distribution transformer, don't ever try to directly do that. There will be CTs and PTs are required. So that voltage will also be not fixed at 11 kV. It will be fluctuating. Sometimes it will go beyond 11 kV, sometimes less than 11 kV, like that. Okay. So, but what is that 11 kV? 11 kV is the voltage that is to be supposed to be present at the primary of the distribution transformer. Likewise, in substation, the nominal voltage is 33 kV. So at every point in the power system network, a nominal voltage is defined. The voltage that is supposed to be present at that point in the power system network is called nominal voltage. And second thing, if I say a transmission voltage, a transmission line of say 132 kV. What is that 132 kV? 132 kV is the line to line RMS voltage. Line to line RMS voltage at every point. At every point in power system, the voltage is expressed as line to line RMS voltage. This is many times IAS gate question and electricity boards also will ask this question. Okay. Now I hope everyone have understood what is the term nominal voltage. So some basic idea is that the primary distribution usually starts, in case of a very big city like Chennai, the distribution will start at 132 kV. Suppose it is a middle level town like Coimbatore or something, like where the distribution will start at 66 kV. In a small village or a very small town, the distribution can start at 11 kV. There is no fixed voltage. We can say that this is the transmission voltage, this is the distribution voltage. It varies from situation to situation. So even the distribution is carried out in three-phase, three-wire system, but where the distribution transformer, after distribution transformer only, the fourth wire is called neutral, comes into picture only when we want to distribute the power to the single phase customers. Till that point, the power system has only three phases and three wires only. Okay. Even if you can observe that in your distribution transformer, the primary voltage is 11 kV. 11 kV line only has three conductors, R phase, Y phase and B phase. There is no neutral in the 11 kV side. Now again, what is power system? What is power system? So now can anyone tell what is the objective of power system? Why we need to establish such a big network?
Safety transfer the generator.
Everyone give an idea, because if you talk, I'll get some rest. Huh? Otherwise, I continuously have to talk. Well, onboard teaching, you'll get lot of time. You'll write something, student will copy, and you'll get lot of rest. Tell me, uh, what is the main objective of our system?
Transfer the power generator to the customer side with less losses and also protection.
Good, good. Anyone having a different idea? Anyone? Okay. So, anyone want to say something? Comment something? Okay, okay. I will continue. All of you mute yourself now. So, power system is a big business. So, in any business, there will be two parties. The first party is the seller. The second party is the buyer. And there will be some product or service. So, in power system is also a very big business in which what is the commodity which we are selling? We are selling electrical energy. We are selling electrical energy. How do we measure it? 1 unit of electrical energy is called 1 kilowatt hour of energy. 1 kilowatt hour. 1 is 1. Kilo means 10 cube. Watt is watt. Hour means 3600 seconds. So watt second is how much? Joule. So it becomes 3.6 into 10 power 6. So many joules. So many joules of energy will become 1 unit of electrical energy. 1 kilowatt hour of electrical energy. It's a very huge amount of energy. 3.6 million joule. Okay. So if we sell this much of energy, we are getting how much money? The tariff. What is the tariff? Let us say 6 rupees per unit. For this much of energy, we are getting 6 rupees of money. Okay. Now, in any business, the customer will have some objectives. The seller will have some objectives. So, in our case, who is the seller? Our seller is our Tangedco utility. Very good. Tangedco is the seller. So, what is the utility objective? First objective is profit. Any business we can do, you need profit. Second objective is what? Customer satisfaction and brand value. Any business person will look, primary objective is profit, secondary objective is customer satisfaction or brand value. Okay. Now, here the second objective does not matter for Tangedco. Why?
It's the only source here.
It is the monopoly. No other competition is there. Customers don't have choice. They only have to purchase energy from Tangedco. So brand value doesn't matter. Brand value matters only when there is a competition. Understand? So this is this one. Now tell me, what are the objectives or what are the requirements of customer? Customer wants what? Cheap electrical energy. He wants cheap electrical energy. Second one is reliable electrical energy. So cheap, everyone understands. We want everything at low cost. Second one is reliability. Reliability means what?
There's no interruption or
Good, good. Yeah, continue.
there's no interruption and
Quality.
Quality is the third point. We'll come to that quality later. So reliability means, yes, madam told correctly, 24/7 without any interruption. I need electrical energy. The second point
depending
is,
on that, so they should not get interrupted.
yeah, 24/7 without any interruption, the electricity should be available. And second point is, how much ever I want, that much amount of electrical energy, whenever I want, the electrical energy should be available. That is called reliability. The third one is quality electrical energy. So now tell me, how do you define this term quality electrical energy? How do you quantify quality of electrical energy? That's my question. Anyone, you can attempt. You have to answer me.
Shock or something.
Quality electrical energy.
Sudden surge of electrical energy like that.
Distortionless.
Okay, distortionless. What I can make it out is, so we are drawing. See what is coming to our premises. If someone asks you what is coming to voltage, exactly. See how much current we draw. It depends upon our load. So what we are getting to the to our premises is the voltage wave. Okay. So this voltage wave, whatever that is coming to our household, it should be pure cosinusoidal wave. It should not have any harmonic components. That is one parameter that defines the quality. Okay. Now we cannot comment on current. Why? Because for this cosinusoidal wave, if you connect a inverter, if you connect a television, if you connect one load, if the load is linear load, then your current also will be having the same waveform of the voltage. If you have non-linear load, that means your component is having diodes, thyristors and transistor, a lot of things which chop the current, which chop this one, then your current will be non-linear. So current waveform depends upon what load you are connecting to the system, but the voltage waveform which you are getting at your household premises or at the customer premises should be free from harmonics. That is one parameter. Now I want a few more parameters. Anyone having different idea? Frequency எப்படி இருக்கணும்? frequency என்ன? Yeah, tell me.
50 hertz per cycle. 50 hertz.
Frequency should be 50 hertz. Can it be
Yes, sir.
49.9? Is it okay?
Yes, 49. 49.9.
Okay, 49.8.
49.7 plus 0.3.
Okay. We'll come to that. Frequency. So frequency should be very near to 50. That is one point which you're telling. Agreed. Any other parameter? Any other? The third one is voltage. Voltage, as we said, no, voltage should be near to the nominal voltage. Understood? Now we'll see what are the quality parameters. Now, quality electrical energy. What do you understand by the quality electrical energy? Okay. The voltage which you are getting should be plus or minus. It is not 5, it is 6%. If for every state there will be different limit. So generally in India, the voltage which you are getting should be plus or minus 6% of the nominal voltage. Understand? For example, you are getting the voltage should be plus or minus 6% of the nominal voltage. Okay. So even if the voltage is 11 kV at the primary of the distribution transformer, the tolerable voltage value will be 11 kV plus or minus 6% will be the nominal allowable voltage range. Next, what is the allowable range for frequency? It is nominal frequency plus or minus 1%. Okay. So nominal frequency in India is how much? 50 hertz. So allowable range is 49.5 to 50.5 hertz. And as we discussed, the cosinusoidal voltage wave which we are getting to our premises, it should be free from harmonics. It should be free from harmonics. These are the three quality parameters. What are the three quality parameters? Tell me.
Voltage, nominal voltage, voltage, frequency, and
Yeah, voltage, frequency, and the nature of waveform. It should be free from harmonics. So somebody unmute. The disturbance is coming from backside. Everyone, please unmute. Everybody, please mute. Okay. Now, these are the three quality parameters. This point, you check it with your Tamil Nadu board because it changes from one state to another. In general, India, the allowable voltage tolerance is plus or minus 6%. From one state to another, it will change. You just check it with the Tamil Nadu, what is the allowable voltage range. Now, what are the challenges in supplying electrical energy? As we have discussed, in the main objective of the power system is to supply reliable and quality electrical energy to all the customers who are paying tariff to us, who are connected to our power system network. And second point which I am telling you, we understand and analyze power system from the point of view of utility. We think that we are utility and we study the subject. We study the subject from the perception of the utility. Okay. So utility problem is our problem. Challenges. So what is our objective? Our objective is to supply quality and reliable electrical energy to all the customers who are connected to us. And in this process, for this we have established generating stations, transmission lines, substations, distribution transformers, towers, lot of things we have set up. Okay. So in doing so, what are the challenges we face in the anyone? Tell whatever comes to your mind, you tell, because
distance,
Climate.
climate, good point. So that is one point, because it is exposed to all rains, winds, etc. So we have to protect our system. That is one point. Next,
distance,
distance is there. Yeah. So we have to lay very lengthy transmission lines. Next. Only distance, climate, anything that comes to your mind?
Load variations from the consumer side.
Fantastic. Load fluctuations. Very good point. Yeah. We have to supply this fluctuating load. Load is never constant. Next. One very, very important point is there. I'm expecting that one from you.
Transmission losses.
Transmission losses are there. They are bound to happen because you are laying such a lengthy transmission line. So losses is a problem. Yeah. Anyone? Your audio is not clear, my brother. Okay. Let us discuss one by one. So the biggest, this is cost and harmonics. Yeah. The biggest challenge is, as we told, we have to maintain a frequency within the range, we have to maintain the voltage within the range, and we have to supply electrical energy. So for keeping the frequency, what is the main idea? Who fixes the frequency? So I'm drawing a simple diagram. So what is the input to the generator?
Prime mover.
Prime mover.
Turbine.
Turbine. It can be steam turbine, hydro turbine, or whatever. So what is the output of generator? What is the output of generator? Input of the generator is the
Electrical energy.
mechanical energy. Output is electrical energy. Okay. So now, one more point. Who decides how much electrical energy we have to produce? Who decides how much electrical energy we have to produce?
Turbine speed.
No. It is the load connected to the generator. Load. So what is that load? In that load there are two components. One is real and reactive. But frequency, we only deal with the real powers. Let us say this PD is the active power demanded by the load, real power demanded by the load. Next, let P losses be the total transmission, distribution, all losses that we incur till the customer premises. Let us call all the losses as P losses. Okay. Now, you tell me what should be my output of the generator. Power output of generator should be how much? Total power demand plus total losses. Will everyone agree? Okay. Hello. So our electrical output must be equal to total power demanded by the load and total real power losses that is occurring in our transmission and distribution system. Okay. Now, what should be my PM mechanical power that I am giving to the prime mover? It should be how much? Anyone can tell what is the mechanical power that I should supply to the generator? Come on, no one? So this mechanical power that I should supply to the generator should be losses in the generator, real power losses in the generator, like friction losses, copper losses, windage losses, plus PE. Understand? So, what is PE? PE, how I can write? Total transmission and distribution losses in the electrical system plus power demanded by the load. Okay. So, out of all this, which is not in our control? The load is not in our control. The load is not in our control because I don't know what will happen next moment. Somebody may switch on some motor, somebody may switch on some light, somebody may switch on their fan, some industry may develop fault, some industry start running. I don't know what will happen. This load is not in our control. It is continuously fluctuating. It is continuously fluctuating. So, in order to meet this continuous fluctuating load, you have to adjust what we can adjust here. We have to adjust the mechanical input that we are giving to the generator, the prime mover input. So the complete frequency control depends upon matching this equation. If you achieve this exact matching, exact equilibrium, then your frequency is constant at 50 Hz in India. This equation is called real power balance. Real power balance. That means you have to match the prime mover input with the total generator losses plus transmission losses plus the real power demanded by the load. If you match this one, then your frequency is constant. Suppose if your prime mover input, let us not call mechanical and all that, let us call if your real power prime mover input is greater than, let us call the generator output. Generator output means the sum of all these things. So then your frequency will overshoot. If prime mover power is more, if prime mover power is greater than the generator power, then what will happen? Your frequency will overshoot. If this is less, then your frequency will undershoot. Understand? So it is very big challenge to keep the frequency fluctuation within limits. So here the main point is what? To maintain fixed frequency in the power system, we have to maintain real power balance at each and every instant of time. If there is a mismatch, then what will happen? Your frequency starts fluctuating. Understand? So what is that? Prime mover input power you have to match with the generator output power. So generator output power depends upon the losses, transmission and distribution losses plus what is the load that is connected to the system. I hope everyone understood this. Any doubt you can ask me this. Many people think that the RPM with which we are rotating that decides frequency. Absolutely right. But who governs that RPM? Why the turbine will slow down or why turbine will accelerate? The turbine will accelerate when the load on it is less. So in this case, when the load is more than what it can supply, the turbine will deaccelerate. That means its speed will fall. Then there is a frequency will reduce. When prime mover power is greater than what the generator requires, then frequency will overshoot. The turbine will accelerate. Understood? This is the one challenge. Any doubt you can ask in this one.
Sir, in Tamil Nadu, voltage, the difference can be plus or minus 10%, sir.
Tamil Nadu 10%, they are very liberal it seems. So who is the sufferer here if you have more flexibility? Utility is at benefit. Utility is at benefit. Who is the sufferer? Customer. Isn't it? If you have more flexibility, that means you are allowing 10% voltage fluctuation. That means customer is not getting good voltage profile. Utility is having more flexibility. Okay, chalta. Okay. So lesser is that margin, the quality will be better. Okay, that is one thing. So adjusting the generation according to fluctuating load is the main challenge. Adjusting the generation according to the fluctuating load is the main challenge, one of the main challenges that we face in our power system. Now, how to fix the voltage? We know how to fix what affects the frequency, we have learned. What will affect the voltage? The voltage is affected by the reactive power. So in the previous case, total power generation should match with the total losses plus total demand. It is not single, all added together. So this is real power balance equation. The total generation must match with the total losses plus total demand. If this equilibrium is maintained, then your frequency will be equal to nominal frequency, which is 50 Hertz. Similarly, the total reactive power generation, if it is equals to total reactive power losses in the system plus total reactive power demanded by the system, then your voltage magnitude at every point will be equal to its nominal voltage. Okay. The main point is real power balance will fix the frequency, reactive power balance will fix the voltage magnitude to its nominal voltage. So if this is the case, if the real Qg is greater than the above quantities, then what will happen? Your voltage will overshoot. You will get over voltage problem. If there is lesser generation of reactive power than what is required, then what will happen? Your voltage magnitude will be less than the nominal voltage. Your low voltage problem will come. So the crux is who affects the frequency fluctuations?
Generated power, sir.
The balance, real power balance. If this balance is disturbed, then your frequency is disturbed from the deviated from its nominal value. So who affects the voltage? The reactive power balance. If the balance is not maintained, then either you will get over voltage or under voltage. These are very, very fundamental ideas that you should remember. Any doubt you can ask me in this section. Nobody is having doubt? Can I continue? Say something, Nidun.
Yes, sir.
Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any doubt? You can ask me. After session also we'll have a doubt session, no issue. So, what are the other challenges? The biggest thing is that we cannot store electrical energy. we cannot store electrical energy. So, except in very small quantities, like in our mobile phone battery, we can store some energy. Like in our inverter battery, we can store some amount of energy. But bulk quantity of energy we cannot store. Suppose water is not coming to our house, then how will get water supply? We have a Tumki at the top of our house. We'll have a synthetic tank where we store 1000 liters or 500 liters of water. So whenever water comes, we'll fill in the tank, and whenever we require, we use it from that tank. So the tank is what is a buffer. We store and we use when we require. There is no such buffer for electrical energy. There is no such mechanism to store electrical energy. Whatever electrical energy that we are consuming at this point, it has to be generated, transmitted, and supplied to us at the same instant. இப்போ உங்க வீட்டில் the fan is running. To run that fan, you require some energy. Whatever that energy that fan is that is required to rotate that fan, it is generated by some generator which is hundreds of kilometers away from this fan at the same instant. At the same instant. That is the point. Electrical energy has to be generated, transmitted at the same instant of consumption, at the same instant of demand. Okay. Had there been some buffer, our life would have been very easy. There is no voltage fluctuation, there is no frequency fluctuation. We generate all energy, we'll put it in the reservoir. Whoever wants, how much ever they want, they can draw from that reservoir. There is no voltage fluctuation, there is no frequency fluctuation. All these disturbances are coming because of the single most point, that electrical energy cannot be stored. It has to be generated and supplied at the same instant of demand. See, next moment I don't know what is my demand. So I should be ready to accept whatever demand comes to me the next moment without hampering the frequency and voltage. That is the biggest challenge. I hope you are getting my point.
Yes, sir.
Next, there is no provision to store electrical energy in bulk quantities. You can store very small energy. In case of your mobile phone, what is the energy stored? It is in, what is the unit of energy? Tell me, anyone? In mobile phone, what is the unit they usually call? Come on, man. Milliampere hour, mAh. mAh. Sir, how this will come to joule? You have to tell me tomorrow. Okay. Milliampere, one is ampere, one is hour. Where is the voltage? Your battery will have a fixed voltage of, let us say, 5 volt. Multiply with that 5 volt. Voltage, current, and time will become joule. So that many joules your mobile phone battery can store. That's why you are able to use whenever you want. Like if you check your inverter battery, what is the unit? Unga veetla inverter illaya?
Ampere hours.
Ampere hour, AH. Again, what is the voltage of that battery? 12 volt. 12 volt. So multiply that 12 volt with ampere hour. You will get some joule of energy. So that much of energy is stored in that battery, which you are using whenever there is an interruption in the power, regular power. Understood? So only in small packets we can store electrical energy, but bulk energy storage, no mechanism has been developed so far in the world. So maintaining the voltage and frequency fluctuations of the power system within the operating range, we have already discussed what are the operating ranges, while meeting ever fluctuating load is the biggest challenge. Understood? What makes our life difficult is this phenomenon. We don't know what is the load next moment. We don't have a buffer to store energy. So we have to meet the load whichever comes in the next moment without hampering the voltage and frequency. That is the biggest challenge. Yes, as you told, harsh weather conditions, we can, even though the weather is so harsh, very rarely we see that a transmission line has collapsed or this has broken. Only small distributors, some tree falling on the line, or some bird sitting on the line, or some earthquake. This may damage the mechanical design of the power system, but the major challenge is this one. Our equipment are so sophisticated that they are made to handle all the worst possible weather conditions. Understood? So, maintaining high reliability and safety, because electricity is something that you cannot touch. I mean, that you cannot feel. It will not give any smell, it will not give any sound. If you go and touch, you will get shock. So maintaining high reliability and high safety. Why we require reliability? What happens if there is no reliable supply? Suppose if you stop electrical energy for one day, what will happen? There will be big loss. Many industries will not work. Many complexes will not work. Especially in summer, they will suffocate. They will declare a holiday. Suppose if I cut the power supply for 2 days, what will happen? All of us will start become irritating. Why? Because the battery charge will last only for maximum 1 day, 7 hours screen time. So again we need to recharge our smartphones. But even inverter will last only 10 to 12 hours. Even inverter will not help. So we slowly start becoming irritable. Suppose for the third day also power will not come, then you start fighting with each other, because you have already become partially handicapped, mentally handicapped. 1 week means all the people in the world will become mentally handicapped. Understand? So reliability of electrical energy is very, very important, because it has become just like air we breathe. Like we breathe. For everything we need electrical energy. Do you ever think that your nose or your breathing system is properly functioning, whether your inhalation process and exhalation process is properly working? Do you ever think, do you ever give a thought? Anyone?
No, sir.
No. You think that you take it for granted that it will automatically function. Suppose for 1 minute, if I choke your nose, how will you suffocate? So like this, we have taken this electrical energy for granted, that it will be there forever. So you'll feel the pinch only when there is a interruption. So reliability is very, very important, because the entire world is so much dependent on electrical energy, just like air we breathe. And safety is also very, very important aspect, because the electrical hazard will not give any symptoms. It will not give any noise, any odor, any color change. Nothing will be there. Just you have to sense it. If you touch, you will get a shock. So, as somebody told, reducing the cost of generation and maintaining high transmission efficiency and optimum utilization of the installed generating capacities. All these are the challenges that the utility will face in maintaining the power system network. I hope you have understood this. Any doubt you can ask me. Any doubt, or can we move forward?
Move forward, sir.
Okay, boss. Next. So now we'll get into some fundamental topics which we need to know. So what is the voltage wave that we get in our premises? Is a sinusoidal voltage wave. When I understand the signal sinusoidal voltage wave, how many parameters it is having? A is called what? Amplitude or magnitude of this one. Amplitude. Cos is the nature of waveform. Omega is what?
Frequency.
Angular frequency or angular velocity, you can say. What is the unit? Radians per second. What is phi? Phase angle. Phase angle with respect to reference. Phase angle with respect to reference wave or reference signal, whatever you call it. Understand? So any cosinusoidal signal will have how many properties? Four. Four properties. One is the amplitude, nature of waveform, angular frequency, and phase angle. Okay. So when you excite any linear network, what do you mean by linear network? Linear network means what? Which contains linear elements. Tell me, what are the electrical linear elements? Tell me.
Resistor, sir.
Resistor, inductor, capacitor. Fortunately, in power system, if you see all our equipment only have these three properties only. We don't have non-linear elements like diodes, transistors. Only in HVDC lines we have thyristors, IGBTs, and all that stuff. Okay. So fortunately, in crude power system, we only have all the elements made up of RLC only. So all power system equipment like generators, transmission lines, induction motors, synchronous motors, transformers, all are linear. So directly our power system, you can say it is a linear network, electrically linear network. So a linear network, when you excite with a, say, voltage source of Vm cos of omega t plus phi, I'm exciting with a voltage signal. Then the response in any branch, in any of the element will also, suppose I am taking a response, say here I of t. I of t is equals to, say, Im cos of omega t minus phi. Minus, let me call it as theta. Okay. So what I want to tell you is that when you excite a linear network with a cosinusoidal signal, the response in any branch, the response may be either current or voltage. Okay, it will have two properties that are identical to the excitation. What are the two properties? The two properties that are identical to the excitation are your signal waveform will not change, your frequency will not change. The two properties are retained. The two properties that may change are what? The amplitude and the phase angle. Very, very, very important point. Because first thing what you have to remember, that our electrical power system network blindly, remember it is a linear network. It only consists of three elements, R, L and C. All the components are only made up of these three elements only. We don't have any nonlinear element. So blindly you can say that our power system network is linear. Okay. Reciprocity theorem, by default it is applicable. Now, when you excite a linear network with a cosinusoidal source, then your response, the response may be voltage or current in any of the branches. It will retain two properties of the excitation. What are the two properties? One is the nature of waveform, the other is the angular frequency. The two parameters that may change are what? The amplitude and the phase angle. Understand? So depending upon this idea, the complete phasor analysis is developed. Okay, we don't do power system analysis in time domain because it becomes very complex. We have to do differential integral equations will come, and we have to master the differential equations. So since we want to make our life easy, phasor analysis we do. Phasor analysis is dependent upon this basic idea. Okay. Now, concept of phasor. So what is the first point? When a linear network is excited by a cosinusoidal source, cosinusoidal, don't get confused, it can be either cos or sine waveform, because cos and sine waveform are same. If you push cos waveform by 90, you will get a sine waveform. The response in any branch retains the nature of waveform and the frequency The two properties that may change are the magnitude and the phase angle. Now, so what phasor concept we'll discuss in detail in gate classes. What I want to tell what is a phasor. If I write you a signal, a voltage, you'll write it as 10 root 2 cos omega t plus 30 degrees. If I write this signal, how do you write this same signal in phasor form? Anyone? Nobody's having idea? If no, you tell no. I'll explain. What is the phasor form of this signal? That is the phasor form. That is the phasor form. Okay. See, your amplitude is a peak value. This is a peak value. Whereas in phasor form, this is an RMS value. So, first point is you have to scale down the time domain amplitude to by root 2. Okay. Now, what is the phase angle here in this time domain signal? 30 degrees is the phase angle. So, your phasor phase angle will become at an angle 30. Okay. So, how you write this 10 at an angle 30 in phasor domain? This is j-axis, this is real axis. So how you plot this 10 at an angle 30? You write the magnitude as 10. This angle is 30. And you write this. Are everyone able to get this point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, sir, what about this frequency? So, this is how you draw the phasor diagram for this voltage. But I am telling you one important point. This phasor is continuously, it is not fixed, it is continuously rotating in anti-clockwise direction with omega radians per second. Okay. But since we cannot continuously draw rotating phasors, our phasor diagrams are nothing but the photo or the snapshot taken of rotating quantities at t equal to 0. At t equal to 0. Very, very, very important point. No textbook will tell you, no teacher will tell you. I'm telling you. When you are writing the phasor diagram, remember you are writing 10 at an angle 30. 10 at an angle 30, you are simply drawing. But this signal is not a fixed signal. It is continuously rotating in anti-clockwise direction with an angular velocity of omega radians per second. Okay, this you remember. So this is called phasor. So phasor is the snapshot taken of rotating quantities at t equal to 0. Okay. Why I will tell you why at t equal to 0. What is its value? If you substitute t equal to 0, what you are going to get in this v of t signal? 10 root 2 cos 30. Okay. If I take this root as an amplitude because I am converting into RMS, what is 10 cos 30? So this value will be, this instantaneous value will be 10 cos 30 and this value is 10 sin 30. Understand? So phasor diagram, you remember phasor diagram is the snapshot taken of rotating phasors at t equal to 0. Okay. Let us not go deep into mathematics. Just these are few fundamental things which you require to know. So a phasor is a rotating polar quantity. I think everybody know polar quantity. Polar algebra you have to studied already. You know polar algebra, right? Complex numbers. Polar algebra means complex numbers. In complex plane, phasor rotates in anti-clockwise direction with an angular velocity of omega radians per second. Understand?
Yes, sir.
A phasor diagram is a screenshot taken of rotating polar quantity at t equal to 0. Okay, these are few basic things which you have to remember. See, when I write impedance equals to 3 plus j4, what it will become? Its magnitude will become 5. Tan inverse 4 by 3. Tan inverse 4 by 3 will become. Can anybody tell tan inverse 4 by 3? Or let me make this easy. Let me make like this 4 plus j4. So what will be the magnitude? 4 root 2. Okay. So what will be the angle? The angle will become tan inverse 4 by 4 is 45 degrees. So Z value will become 4 root 2 at an angle 45. Again, if I draw this one in complex plane, how do I draw this one? Magnitude is 4 root 2 and this angle is 45 degrees. Can I call this phasor? Can I call this quantity a phasor quantity? No, this quantity is not phasor because it is not rotating in anti-clockwise direction with omega radians per second. So this quantity is called polar quantity. It is simply a polar quantity because it is not going anywhere. It is a fixed quantity in the complex plane. Whereas a phasor quantity is a quantity which is rotating in complex plane with omega radians per second. I hope you know the subtle difference between phasor and polar. That's why I called here a phasor is a rotating polar quantity which rotates with omega radians per second in anticlockwise direction. So your impedance is a phasor, your voltage, current and voltage drop is a phasor. Your impedance is a polar quantity. Impedance is polar. Your voltage signals, current signals and voltage drop are phasor quantities. If you see your phasor diagrams, you will only get voltage, current and voltage drops. Okay. If you don't understand also, no need to worry. These things which an electrical engineer should know, that's why I explained it. Any doubt here or shall I continue?
Continue, sir.
Continue?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Let me have a simple exercise of converting from time domain to frequency domain. Frequency or phasor domain. So if I write a signal, voltage signal like Vm cos omega t plus phi, how do you write it this in phasor domain?
Im V of t.
No. It is in time domain you will get V of t. In phasor domain we'll say in any signal that is varying with time, we'll use small letters to denote. You remember any textbook you see, any quantity which is a function of time, they'll use small letters. In phasor or frequency domain, we use capital letters, capital V, that's it.
Okay, sir.
V1 of t, let us call V1. Now tell me what is this value in phasor? Vm by root 2 at an angle phi. Vm by root 2 at an angle phi. Because in phasor domain, in time domain, this is a peak value. This is an RMS value. Okay. Now similarly, I of t, if I write Im cos omega t minus theta, what will be in phasor domain?
Im by
Capital I is equals to Im by
Root 2
root 2
angle phi.
angle
theta
minus theta minus
minus
theta minus theta. Okay. Now
Yes, sir.
let me see who will tell this answer. 10 root 2 sine omega t plus 60. This is one question. V3 of t equals to 10 root 2 cos omega t plus 60. I want phasor for both of them. Tell me.
Yeah.
First V2 of t, you tell me what is V2? What is V2?
Capital V2 10 root 2 by
Why root 2 will come? Why root 2 will come?
sorry, sir.
You have to divide the amplitude with root 2. I told you all our phasors are RMS values. All our phasor quantities will have RMS amplitudes. In time domain, you have peak values as amplitudes. You tell me what is V2? 10. Magnitude is 10. Okay. At an angle.
30, yes,
Plus
sir.
60 degree
10 at an angle. V2 enapa?
plus 60
So then you have a confusion. What is our reference? See, I cannot write 60 for both. Everyone tell, I cannot write 60 for both. That's a blunder. You have to select one reference for any signal. Our reference is cos. Cos is the reference, not sin. Everybody will think sin is the reference signal. No, cos is the reference. Why? Because cos will start 90 degrees before sin. So cos is the reference. So here in the first case, it will become how much? 60, 10 at an angle 60. Okay. So sorry. This is not 60. In this signal it is 60. Somebody background noise is coming, please mute. Now this signal we have to convert into our reference format. V2 of t, we have to convert it into cos. It will become how much? V2 of t, it will become 10 root 2 cos of omega t. Tell me how much it will become? Minus 30. Minus 30. Then you convert it. Then it will become V2 will become 10 at an angle minus 30 degree. Understood? So what is the moral? Cos is the reference waveform. Cos is the reference waveform. Understood? Any doubt?
Small doubt, sir.
Yes, boss.
Sir, 30 degree will come, I know, sir, but minus I am not able to find it out, sir.
Okay. So how to convert cos to sin, you have to subtract with how much degrees?
90 minus
90 minus 11 minus 90. See, I'll tell you. So your cos signal will start here. It is your cos signal. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, what is your sine signal? Okay. Now tell me how much angle I have to shift to make cos sine. I have to shift this in this direction by 90 degrees. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I have to subtract 90 degrees from cos to make it. I have to add 90 degrees to make it sine. But here I have to convert the sine into cos. Sine into cos I have to means I have to shift by 90 degrees. Negative I have to shift by 90, so I have to subtract. So here it will become 10 root 2 cos of omega t plus, sorry, what is this one? Yeah, plus 60 minus 90. Then only this cos will become, this sign will become cos. So this is my signal now. So how
Okay,
much
sir.
it will become? So don't go by 90 minus theta. That is only for the trigonometry. In signal, you have to subtract with 90 degrees. So it will become omega t minus 30. So you have to write in this fashion. Okay. Cos leads sine by 90 degrees. Cos signal leads sine by 90 degrees. So if I want to make sine to cos, so what? I have to make it lag. I have to make it lag by 90 degrees. So I have to subtract 90 degrees. Understood?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Now, few more examples. A resistor in time domain will become what? In frequency domain, what it will become? In time domain, this is again time domain. This is phasor domain. A resistor in ohm will become what in frequency? Same resistor, it will not change. Inductance in Henry. In time domain, the inductor is in Henry. What it will become in frequency domain? Phasor domain. Anyone? It will become omega L, 2 pi FL. So many ohm. Okay. Capacitor in time domain, it is in farads. In frequency domain or phasor domain, it will become
1 by
omega c. 1 by omega c, that is 1 by 2 pi fc. So many ohm. Understood? So resistor is one element which is independent of frequency, which will not change its property. It is having same property in time domain and frequency domain. Whereas the inductance in Henry, it is becoming omega L, so many ohms in frequency domain. Capacitor, it will become 1 by omega c, 1 by 2 pi fc. Understood? Next. The one more point which I want to tell you is that the polarities or the polarities which we give for the inductive reactance and the capacitive reactance. This is called inductance here. This is the inductance. This is inductive reactance. This is capacitance and this is capacitive reactance. So when you convert the L into frequency domain, what it will become? L will become SL. Laplace transform. If you apply Laplace transform for L, what is the value? SL. So what is the value of S? How you will substitute S? You will write this one as J omega L. Understood? J omega L. So your inductive reactance is having positive polarity. J will precede this one. Similarly, when you convert capacitor to frequency domain, how you will write? 1 by SC. This will become 1 by J omega C. So when you do this one, it will become how much? Minus J by omega C. This will become J omega L. So what I want to conclude is that while this parameter of inductance is converted into phasor domain, it is having positive reactance. When capacitance is converted into frequency domain, it is having negative polarity for its reactance. Understand? So don't get confused. If you only speak about reactance, inductive reactance is given by omega L, that is 2 pi FL ohms. Only magnitude. Capacitive reactance magnitude is given by 1 by omega C, 1 by 2 pi Fc. So many, 1 by 2 pi Fc ohm. One by 2 pi Fc ohm. But inherently, the inductive reactants have positive polarity and capacitive reactance has negative polarity. that is coming because of this conversion. Understand? So you should never write XL equal to this one. This is an absurd. You have to write JXL is equals to J2 pi FL minus JXC is equals to minus J2 pi FC. When you strictly speak of XL, XL is the only reactance. It is not accompanied with polarity. So only when JXL equal to J2 pi FC FL minus JXC is equals to minus J by 2 pi FC. This is the concept of inductive reactance and capacitive reactance. Why inductive reactance is positive, why capacitive reactance is negative. Okay, any doubt in this one? Any doubt? Okay, now what is the unit of impedance? If I write Z is equals to 3 plus J4, what you are getting from, what information you are getting from this impedance? Tell me. It is inductive impedance or capacitive impedance?
Inductive.
Inductive impedance. Okay. Now, if I write Z is equals to 3 minus J4 ohm, now what inference you are getting? It is capacitive impedance, isn't it? So, this one I can write it as 5 at an angle 53.53 degrees. This one I can write it as 5 at an angle minus 53 degrees. So inductive reactance in polar form will have positive angle. Capacitive impedance will have negative angle. If I convert this into admittance, Y1 will become 1 by Z1, 1 by 3 plus J4. So if you do this one, what you are going to get? 3 minus J4 divided by 25. Why? You have to multiply both numerator and denominator with complex conjugate. You are going to get this value. Okay. Now if I split this value, 3 by 25 minus J4 by 25. So can anybody tell what is this 3 by 25?
Real
What is this one? Admittance. What is the unit of admittance? Siemens or mho. So what is the real part of admittance? Conductance. Real part of admittance is conductance. What is the imaginary or imaginary part of this one?
inductance or capacitance?
Susceptance. Susceptance. Okay. So inductive susceptance is negative. Likewise, capacitive susceptance will be positive. Capacitive susceptance will be positive. Okay. So on a concluding note, what I want to write is inductive reactance is what? Positive. Inductive reactance is positive. Inductive susceptance is negative. So when I write Z is equals to R plus JX, R is called resistance, X is called reactance. Understand? Similarly, when I write admittance, I have to write it sort of the same things. Minus or plus, it will become B. G is called conductance, B is called susceptance. When you do inverse, the polarities will change. Similarly, capacitive reactance is negative. Capacitive reactance is negative and capacitive susceptance is past. Okay, all these fundamentals are required for our power system analysis. That's why we are discussing. Okay, what is the unit of impedance? Ohm. Unit of admittance is mho or Siemens. Okay. So the last topic for today's lecture, we will discuss this, and if required, we will continue the same discussion in the next class. Till what time you are comfortable? Stop it. Okay. So tomorrow also we'll be having a session. We'll start at 7:30 and we'll have a short session 7:30 to 9 tomorrow we'll have. Sunday and Saturday we'll plan extended session. Okay. Now, again we are getting back into our power system analysis. Let us consider a single phase RL circuit. Let us assume this switch is there, which is closed at t equal to 0. Let our voltage is V of t is equals to Vm cos omega t, and this is an RL circuit. Now tell me, how will be the current here? Will current lag or lead in RL circuit? Tell me what would be the current waveform in this one? Im cos of omega t minus phi. Okay, I have taken a simple RL circuit. In this RL circuit, the switch is closed at t equal to 0. My voltage is Vm cos omega t. My current is Im cos of omega t minus phi. I am applying this voltage between phase and neutral. That means you can imagine that a simple fan circuit I have modeled here. Fan is nothing but a series RL circuit where the switch of fan is closed at t equal to 0. What is our voltage? Our voltage is Vm cos omega t, R phase voltage waveform, and the current flowing through the circuit is Im cos of omega t minus phi. Why? Because in RL circuit, somebody please, background noise is coming. Please mute yourself. So I of t is Im cos of omega t minus phi. Okay. Now, instantaneous power. What is P of t? Instantaneous power supplied by this single phase source to this single phase load is given by, it is the product of instantaneous voltage into instantaneous current. Very important point, remember this. The instantaneous power supplied by a source to the load is the product of instantaneous voltage and instantaneous current supplied by the source. Understood? So if I do this instantaneous power, how I can write V of t? Vm cos omega t into Im cos omega t minus phi. Understand? So if I convert these peak values into RMS value, I'm going to get 2. I'm multiplying and dividing with this one by 2. Vm by root 2 into Im by root 2. See, I have divided and multiplied with this one into cos omega t into cos of omega t minus phi. Okay. So this will become what? 2 into Vrms into Irms cos omega t into cos of omega t minus phi. Okay. So P of t will become how much? Vrms into Irms is a constant. If I keep this aside, 2 cos A cos B. 2 cos A cos B, how I can write? So here A is omega t, B is omega t minus phi. 2 cos A cos B will become how much? Cos of A minus B
Must be cos A plus
plus or minus plus cos of a plus b. See, what I am using is 2 cos a cos b is equals to cos of a minus b plus cos of a plus b. Simply I am writing this equation. Okay. So this will become what? Vrms Irms into a minus b will become cos phi plus cos of 2 omega t minus phi. Plus or minus? I am worried about the signal.
Minus.
Minus 100%. So let us take minus.
Oh, no. That middle one I'm not sure, sir. I said 2 omega t minus.
Okay, the middle one, nobody is sure. Now tell me what is cos of a minus b. Okay, let us call this plus only. Okay. Now, again if I do the expansion, P of t is equals to Vrms into Irms cos phi. Again if I do this expansion of cos of a minus b, what is cos of a minus b? Cos a cos b plus sin a sin b cos 2 omega t cos phi plus sin 2 omega t sin phi. Okay. Now, if I take the common terms, in first two terms I can take Vrms, Irms, cos phi common. And what is left out? 1 plus cos 2 omega t. Am I right? Yeah. What is the second term that is left out? Remaining term is Vrms into Irms sin phi into sin 2 omega t. Understood? Till this point, any doubt in the derivation? Gentlemen, you talk.
No, sir.
No doubt. So now you see this first part, I am calling it as capital 1. This second part I am calling it as capital 2. Okay. So what is this total component which we have computed? It is the instantaneous power. Instantaneous power is having two parts, component 1 and component 2. If I draw the equation between component 1 and time, let me see what I am going to get. What is my component 1? Vrms, Irms, cos phi into 1 plus cos 2 omega t. Vrms is a fixed quantity, Irms is a fixed quantity, cos phi is fixed. So let me use a symbol capital P for all this and call this as 1 plus cos 2 omega t. This is component 1. Okay. Now if I plot the curve between component 1 and time, let me see what I am going to get. Component 1 versus omega t. So when omega t equal to 0, what is this value? Cos 0 is how much?
1.
Cos 0 is 1. So 1 plus 1, it is going to become how much? 2p. 2p. Okay. So when omega t equal to pi by 4, how much value will be this one?
1 by root 2.
No. Cos 2 into pi by 4, how much? Cos 90. Cos 90 is 0. So when omega t equal to pi by 4, this value is going to become how much? P. It's going to become P, not 0. when omega t equal to pi by 2. So pi by 2 means cos 180. Cos 180 is how much? Minus 1. So this value is going to become 0. Cos 3 pi by 4. This value again is going to become p. Cos pi. When omega t equal to pi, this value is going to become cos 2 pi. Cos 2 pi is again cos 0, that is 1. So again it's going to become 2pi. Okay. So if you plot this curve, this is going to become in this fashion. Like this. Okay. Now you see how much time it is taking to complete one cycle. What is one cycle here? From this point to this point, it is one cycle. After that, again it is repeating the same structure. This is the second cycle. Okay. So how much time period it is taking to complete one cycle? Pi radians. Pi radians. But how many radians is taken by normal voltage or current to complete one cycle? 2 pi radians. So here, what is the frequency of this component? Component frequency is double the frequency of our voltage or current, because directly in the equation also you can see what is the frequency. It is 2 times the omega. That is the first point. Second point, what you can observe is that it is always positive. It is always positive. Is it becoming negative at any point? No. It is always positive. This component 1 is always positive. For this, if we calculate the average value, it will become what? This average value will become P. Very simple. You take this equation and you calculate average value, you are going to get P. This is the average value P. Okay. So from this analysis, what we are going to get? Our first component is having double the frequency of the supply voltage or current. It is always positive, it is never becoming negative, and the average value of this component is P. What is that P? What we have assumed P? P is Vrms, Irms, cos phi. So P equal to Vrms, Irms, cos phi is the average value of component 1. Average value of component 1. This component is called active component or real component. This is called active component or real component. Okay, real component of the instantaneous power. Any doubt in this one? You can ask this. No textbook will teach. So, any doubt you please ask me. We will continue further. No need to worry about notes. Next slide I have jotted down all important points. Can I continue? Any doubt? Are you able to hear me?
Sir, no doubt, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Shall we continue further?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now
Sir.
tell me, what is the other component? Component 2 is what? Vrms, Irms, sin 5 into sin 2 omega t. So if you plot the curve between component 2 and the same thing, what is component 2? Vrms, Irms,
Yes.
sin 5, sin 2 omega t. If you plot this versus time, what you're going to get? This is a constant value, Vrms, Irms, sin 5. Let me call this as Q sin 2 omega t. So if you plot the curve between component 2 and omega of t, See, when omega t equal to 0, what will be this value? Q sine 20 is 0. It is a simple sine waveform, Q into sine 2 omega t. It is a simple sine waveform. It will come like this. Okay. But what you have to observe is that again the frequency in this component is also 2 pi. That means it will complete one cycle. Here it is 0, pi by 2, pi. It will complete one cycle by pi radians. The peak value here is plus q. Here it is minus q. So you can observe, what you can observe is that this component in one half cycle it is positive, in other half cycle it is negative. Like this it is traveling. Okay, so in first half cycle it is positive, in second half cycle it is negative. What is the average value of this component 2? The average value will become 0. Average value of a sinusoidal signal is 0, right? So this component of the power which is changing the polarity after every half cycle, it is called reactive component. It is called reactive component, and its average value is 0. What is the peak value? The peak value is given by Vrms Irms sin phi. Remember, gentlemen, your Q is the peak value, your P is the average value. Average value. So anybody, if they ask what power you measure in wattmeter, in wattmeter you strictly measure average power. Average power. There is no concept called as RMS power. RMS power is an absurd statement. So all your voltmeters will measure RMS voltage. All your ammeters will measure RMS current. All your wattmeters will measure average power. Understand? Second important point is all your reactive power meters will measure peak value, because the average value of reactive power is 0. So your Vrms Irms sin phi is the peak value. It is the peak value of reactive power. Understand? So similarly, you can do the RC circuit analysis. If you do RC circuit analysis, what changes you will get? Instead of Im cos omega t, here you will get Im cos of omega t plus phi. If you do a complete analysis, you can do it on your own. I am simply writing the instantaneous power equation. Your instantaneous power equation will finally boils down to Vrms Irms cos phi into 1 plus cos 2 omega t. Here instead of plus you will get minus q into, minus of Vrms into Irms sin phi into sin 2 omega t. Here if you do the analysis by assuming this is Vm cos omega t, this is a switch which is closed at t equal to 0. My current, since it is a capacitive circuit, it will become Im cos omega t plus phi. Okay, so you will get the same. The first term there is absolutely no change, but the polarity of the second term becomes negative. In the previous case it was positive, here it is negative. Okay, so now what conclusion you can draw? Again, if you plot the first waveform, there is absolutely no change. You are going to get the same waveform, same analysis, everything. But the only change you are going to get is if you plot the second term with respect to omega of t, there is going to be a change. Why? Here the first term, first half cycle is positive. In case of capacitive loads, the first half cycle is negative, the second half cycle is positive. Understand? So this red waveform is for RL loads, this blue waveform is for RC loads, for the reactive term. Understand? So here first cycle is negative, the second cycle is positive. Okay, that will be the only change. So what conclusion we can draw from the analysis? If you have inductive loads connected, the reactive power first half cycle is positive. That means first half cycle is positive. If you connect RC loads in the reactive power, the first half cycle is negative. Okay, we'll draw more inferences later. Now, what we have concluded so far, the instantaneous power which we have calculated P of T, instantaneous power supplied by single phase source to single phase load, contains how many components? 2 components. Okay, the first component is called active component. It is unidirectional. It is unidirectional because it is always positive. It flows in only one direction. It flows from source to load only. Real power, the active component will never flow from load to source. It is unidirectional. It always flows from source to load only. It always flows from source to load. So this is the component that is responsible for actual work in the load. Suppose a fan is working. So in order to rotate the fan, what energy is required?
DC.
Mechanical energy is required. You want to rotate it. So that mechanical energy is joules only. In mechanical, chemical, other forms of energy, there is no reactive power. There is only active power. Only in electrical systems, you have something called as reactive power. So the actual work done in the load is because of this active component. Suppose you have one heater connected to it. What is the heater? What is the input to the heater? Electrical energy. What is the output of heater?
Heat.
Heat energy. So heat energy means joules only. We require proper joules, and that is the actual work which we need to be done in the load is by this active component. Okay. In case of light, what is the input? Electrical energy. What is the output?
Light energy.
Light energy. Luminous intensity required. So you take any electrical device, input is same, it is electrical energy, but the output is different forms of energy. So all your electrical appliances are transducers that convert electrical energy into some other form of energy. So that some other form of energy conversion is done by which component? It is done by active component only. The actual work in the load is done by the active component only. Understood? Now, the average value of this active component is what? Vrms, Irms, cos phi. So many watts. Okay. Now, this is about the active component. It is unidirectional. It always flows from source to load. The actual work done in the load is due to active component. The average value of this is Vrms, Irms, cos phi. Now, reactive component. Reactive component in one half cycle, when it is positive, it is flowing from source to load. When it is negative, it is flowing from load to source. So reactive component in one half cycle flows from source to load. In other half cycle flows from load to source. It is oscillating between source and load. In one half cycle, source will supply reactive power. In other half cycle, the source will consume the reactive power. Okay. So this component will not do any useful work in the load. The actual fan rotation, the light illumination, the speaker sound are not because of the reactive component. But what is its significance? It is that reactive component that will establish magnetic field in inductive devices like transformer and induction motor, and electric field in capacitive devices like capacitor. Even though it will not do any useful work, it creates the medium wherein which the energy conversion will happen. Why? Because in transformer, what will happen first? You supply electrical energy, in the core of the transformer, that electrical energy is converted into magnetic energy. Again, that magnetic energy in the secondary coil is converted back to electrical energy. So electric to magnetic, magnetic to again electrical. So this conversion will happen when the core of the transformer is filled with magnetic flux. It is filled with a magnetic flux. So when you charge the transformer without any load at secondary, what current it will take? It will purely take lagging current. If you neglect the very small losses in transformer, real power losses, copper losses, to establish that magnetic field, I hope you all know transformers. You forgot or you still remember? If you draw the no load current of a transformer, this is the input voltage V1. This current will be something like this. I0 will be something like that. So this component is called I mu, which is a magnetic component, and very small real component IW will call it. This is for copper losses in the transformer, no load copper losses. But most of the current is how much? It is purely lagging current, I mu current. This I mu current is required to establish magnetic flux in the core. This current, if you see V1 I1, V1, if you calculate V1 and I mu, what is the angle between them? Cos 90, it is 0. So it is not taking any real power. So if you calculate reactive power V1 I mu sin 90, so the transformer is only taking that reactive power to establish magnetic field in its core. Without that magnetic flux in the core, the energy conversion will not happen. Okay. So reactive component, even though it is not doing any useful work in the load, it is creating magnetic field medium in the inductive devices like transformer and induction motor, and electric field in capacitive devices like capacitor, which are required for the energy transfer and energy conversion. That is the role of reactive component. Very important point. You should never forget this point. Okay, let me erase this one. Now, the peak value of reactive power is given by Q, whose value is Vrms Irms sin phi watt. See, capital P is the average value, capital Q is the peak value. One is a horse, other one is a donkey. You cannot club these two components. Okay. Next, the average value of reactive power is 0. The average value of reactive power is 0. The last point in this today's discussion, when the reactive power is positive, for RL loads the reactive power is positive. For RC loads, the first half cycle of reactive power is negative. So plus Q denotes lagging reactive power, which is taken by the RL loads, which is absorbed by RL loads. Minus Q denotes leading reactive power, which is taken by the capacitive loads. Further on this one, we'll discuss